Do you like Affinity? Like real Affinity with real Affinity cards? Do you like Prison or Stompy decks? Do you like Tezzerator or Blue Planeswalkers in general? Maybe a little bit of Jace? How about Force of Will? Some of you fuckers like Force of Will, right? Does that give you an erection? Does that make it throb? What if I said the word birthing followed by the word pod? Would your vagina quiver with excitement? Hoof, Thragtusk, Doomwake Giant, Breya. Yeah, this is one spicy fucking meatball, ladies and gentlemen, so sit down, buckle up, I'm taking you for a ride. The idea for this deck came from seeing a similar deck being played at GP Liverpool in a side event. I was playing my game, I glanced over, saw an artifact land, a pod, a Doomwake Giant, all in play together, and it made me question everything I knew about life and Magic the Gathering. I thought to myself, will I ever be relevant? I gave it a quick Google a few days later, and apparently Affinity Pod is a fringe strategy that has some history. I took the concept under my arm and some lists into a Splicer call where I hang out with some of my largest contributors from Patreon, and well, this hot pile of sexual tension is the result. Prepare to fall in love all over again. Now before we begin, I should introduce myself. I am your host, lover for the next 20 or so minutes, and your guide. I am Vince, also known as PleasantKenobi on the internet. I am the Magic the Gathering content creating equivalent of that wet fart your friend did in the passenger seat of your car on the way home from Glastonbury in 2009. You pretended you were disgusted with it, but when they left, you sniffed it. I know you fucking did. I was watching you, dirty little morsel. The main premise of the deck is to play a load of artifacts out, including the artifact lands that are banned in Modern, and then use this high artifact count to play 3 Frogmites and 3 Mere Enforcers. Now I hear you in the back. Whoop-a-dee-doo, a 3-4-4, says the smart Alec in the back, pushing the glasses up upon his nose. How do you win a game of Legacy with that, you scrub? Well, what you do is you birthing pod them into game-ending threats and disruptive elements. Yep, that is right. A Frogmite might be 0 mana to cast, but it's still a 4 CMC creature on the field. We can then make a load of bodies with Deranged Hermit, Wrath and Elves or D&T player with the Big Daddy Doom Bastard himself, or gain life and grind them out with Thragtusk. We have one obligatory 6-drop in Gravy Train in order to give us a pod chain, and if we're grinding, an alternative way to win outside of the pseudo combo that comes off the 8 drops. You see, Mere Enforcer allows us to pod from 7 right up to 8. What cards do we have at 8 mana? Well, it's Craterhoof Behemoth or Sundering Titan. Yeah, go big or fuck off. We are also playing Interaction and Disruption. We have Soul Lands and Mox Opals as fast mana to allow us to speed out our birthing pod, but it also allows us to play Chalice on 1 or even 2 very early in the game. For this reason, we have gone with no 1-drops and no 2-drops. We originally thought about playing Baleful Strix, but in the end, we thought the card might be a bit difficult to cast early in the game and not impactful enough. We have Force of Will to save our skin in a pinch or protect the combo, and a plethora of blue planeswalkers that are pitchable to force, such as Tesseract Agent of Bolas to offer card advantage and a win condition when he ultimates. He is super easy to ultimate, and that ultimate kills people. Alongside that, we have Mind Sculptor and this marvellous fun of Artifice Master to grind out the competition. Oh, and yeah, we're playing Antiquities War as well because there wasn't enough memes in the deck already. Trinket Mage finds artifact lands, opals and chalices, as well as sideboard tech like Crypt and Ballista, and also pitches to Force of Will, while also being able to be potted into Breya, Ethereum, whilst also being able to be potted into Breya Ethereum Shaper for an immediate effective creature and for style points, or to allow us to chain up into Frogmite and on into our 5-drops. Let me know what you think of the deck in the comment section below. I would love to see what you think before the games and then afterwards. I think you might be pleasantly surprised by this collection of oddities, memes and weirdness. This video is brought to you by the love and support of a fantastic group of people supporting me through Patreon. The largest supporters, my splicers, are on screen now. If you want to get involved, click the link in the description below. For just $2 a month, you can join the Discord and get involved with our growing community. And of course, a big shout out to the channel's main sponsor, the one and only channelfireball.com, providing you with the best cards and content in the multiverse. Make sure you head on over to the website for articles and content from the biggest pros and the biggest names in Magic. Myself included now. And if you're signing up for a GP this year, be sure to use the code KENOBI whilst you're signing up. It doesn't offer a discount, but it is a free and easy way to support your favourite bearded boy and his quest for fair magic and Craterhoofs. Right, you primitive screwheads, let's fucking do this.
The Transformers, more than meets the eye.
Our first hand with the deck is so close to being playable, but we don't have a black source. It's so close that I screenshot it and sent it to my patrons on Discord to keep them updated on the monstrosity that we've tuned together. Okay, having our pod targets in hand is a real problem as well, something that makes not playing Brainstorm hurt real bad, but Jace helps with that. This is a virtual 5, but it is a proactive enough to warrant keeping it. It has the combo of Frogmite and Pod, which is basically, give or take, if you squint a little bit and the light levels are low, it looks just like Splinter Twin. We score a Challenge of the Void at the top of our deck, and now I'm feeling like we have some gas, ladies and gentlemen. We play a turn 2 Challenge of the Void and pass back to their solitary swamp. They play a Bayou and not a lot else. It looks like Challenge of the Void might be doing its job here. But that said, they didn't play anything on turn 1, so it's hard to tell just how effective the card is being. We untap, play an artifact land, play a Birthing Pod by paying life, and play a free Frogmite, and then pod it into a Thragtusk. Yeah, that feels real good on turn 3. We pass back, they miss a land drop and pass back to us doing nothing. Oh boy, that is not good for them. We attack for 5, then we transform a Swag Daddy into a Grave Titan. That is fucking WALUE. We pass back and they have seen enough, they scoop it up. Welcome to Legacy, boys and girls. Come with me if you want to pod. In game 2 we start out not really knowing what they are, as our Chalice locked out their hand so bad that we don't know what they're playing. They turn 1 Underground Sea that we didn't see last game and Thoughtseize us, which makes me think this could be Storm, and we sideboarded really badly. They take our Trinket Mage away and leaves us with Pod and Enforcer. This heavily signposts a deck that is terrified of Chalice of the Void. We draw and play an Opal and an Artifact land. We want to draw Frogmite so we can play it and pod this turn, but instead we draw a much worse 4-drop in Jace the Mind Sculptor. We play a land and play a pod and pass back. Then we die.
Hello darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk.
They cast Ad Nauseam and go off, tutoring and making mana and storming off all over the fucking shop. Once our opponent's finished masturbating, we find ourselves in agony, broken, lost, alone, and wondering where it all went wrong. Well, I can tell you where it went wrong. We didn't interact with them in any meaningful way, and that's how you die to Storm. In game 3, we have a turn 2 Chalice on 1 and a Canonist and a Trinket Mage for redundancy. Much, much better. Thoughtseize takes our Canonist, and I get ready to rub my hands with glee and resolve this Chalice, but then they Lotus Petal duress me and take the Chalice. Motherfucker. We play a land and pass back. On the upside, although we lost all our interaction, it does mean that they spent 3 cards to do that, meaning the likelihood of them having a critical mass of spells to just kill us is pretty slim. We play a Mage and grab a Chalice. There's a big decision tree moment here. I want to know what you guys would have done in my shoes. We can play a Chalice of the Void on 0 here, which turns off our Opals and our Crypts out of the sideboard, but it turns off their Lion's Eye Diamonds and Lotus Petals, which means that it's very unlikely they can go off next turn. I think that overall, a Chalice on 1 is probably better because it stops cantrips and Dark Ritual, but it leaves them with a window opportunity to shit in our open mouths while we sleep. What would you do here? Would you show up next turn, or would you take the risk and go for the Chalice on 1? Let me know in the comment section below. Anyway, I finally settled on waiting and praying they don't have a land, ritual, nauseum, or similar to kill us, or just a hand disruption spell to take the Chalice. They untap. And they do nothing.
Nothing. Nothing, tra-la-la.
We untap, Chalice for 1 and cast a Frogmite, then a Enforcer. Simply put, we are straightforward Affinity beatdown here. We untap, draw Pod, we go attacking, taking them to 6, then we pod our Enforcer into Sundering Titan and blow up 3 of their lands.
Headshot.
They play a Petal and they concede.
Now this is pod racing.
We get Thoughtseized, and I decide to keep the element of surprise and the combo intact by pitching Force of Will to Force of Will in order to counter the Thoughtseize and stop them from seeing our hand. Now, usually I would hate to do this as we're 2-for-1ing ourselves, but we need these pieces to win, and I want to be proactive for the most part, and I don't want them to know what we are, because Force of Will with a Force of Will pitch will probably make the whole pod plan quite a surprise. They ponder in turn 2 and seize again, making my Force play feel really bad. They take Pod, and then I draw a second Pod because it's better to be lucky than good. We play the little Froggy Lad. Preordaining from them makes me think this might well be Storm again. Then a Petal, which, yeah, I think it's Storm, right? We attack and then pod the Froggy into Flag Daddy again for maximum damage next turn. 2 more Petals and a Tendrils to buy themselves some time. This is definitely Storm. They don't do much. We pod into a Titan after attacks. They do nothing again. We slam them to 3. Pod our Titan into an Enforcer to ensure we can blow up some lands next turn if they somehow cast a Massacre off of a Wish or something similar. colour? Nope, the last 3 cards are exactly Past in Flames, Lion's Eye Diamond, and Infernal Tutor. They go off and ejaculate a load of hot, degenerate spunk all over my back when they finish, just before I could finish, and they don't even give me the common courtesy of a reach around to get the job done. I die with metaphorical blue balls, them on 3 life, and us with 15 damage on board, and a one-sided Armageddon coming next turn. Some might describe this as loss. Game 2, we have a double force hand, so we keep it. They make 10 gobbos on turn 2, and we simply have to be able to frog. Oh, fuck me. They make 10 gobbos on turn 2. We simply have to be able to pod a Frogmite into Doomwake Giant to survive and then probably win, but we just don't have it. Now, I messed up here. I wanted to Force of Will the Ad Nauseam, the Lion's Eye Diamond, or the Infernal Tutor, not expecting them to have the actual nuts and not expecting them to be empty the warrens, which killed us super fast. Oh well, on to round 3. So I quickly found out that lands is one of our worst matchups by a huge fucking margin. If they are the Ghost Quarter variant, which some versions are, replacing some, if not all of the ports with Ghost Quarters, then we are fucked, because we rely heavily on our soul lands and have no basics. Man, we are so fucked. Dear Diary, it was on this day that I realised what it was like. I realised what people thought of me when I Ghost Quartered people and Wastelanded people. Those poor people didn't have basics. Well, actually, not actually poor people. These people own mana bases that cost more than my first car. So I mean metaphorically poor. Philosophically, spiritually poor. Scrubs. In game 2, we hope to accelerate out a Chalice on 2 to turn off Loam and Punishing Fire, I guess, but we get Wastelanded before we get to 4 mana on turn 3. We get into a rather hairy predicament of no mana, a 4 drops in hand, and a Tabernacle in play. We have to sacrifice this lone singular frog, and we call it a day there. Lands feels super fucking rough. I guess we want to dodge lands and Nick Fit, as Nick Fit's deeds blows up all our artifact lands. No, thank you. Guess what we played against round 4? I'm only joking, it's not Nick Fit. Inquisition of Kozilek instead of Duress or Thoughtseize or Cabal Therapy is a bit weird, but okay. We lose our Opal, we punt by leading the Tree of Tails. If we led with the Spire, at least a Mox Opal off the top will enable the Spire to tap for blue next turn, so we can tap for blue, Ancient Tomb, and play a Trinket Mage. That's a punt. On the upside, we don't draw an Opal anyway, so I don't feel punished. Thoughtseize takes a Trinket Wanker, our opponent Sylvan Scryings for a Wasteland, and blows up our Ancient Tomb. Thanks. I hate it. Thoughtseize takes a Trinket Wanker, and we get to cast the other Wanker to go find a Mox. I don't play the Mox. This was a punt, as they then duress it and take it away as it was the only option, and I feel terrible. We can't cast a 5-drop if we draw a land now. We draw a pod, which isn't so bad, but we can't activate it this turn because of my punt. I feel nothing but self-loathing and despair. How was your day? We play pod and pass. They play an Urborg, all but guaranteeing that there's some form of turbo depths or slow depths or whatever the fuck the kids are calling it these days, with bug depths being a variant of this that is on the rise. The only other deck that plays Urborg to my knowledge is Pox, and 3-color Pox doesn't seem too hot. We untap, slap them for 2, cast a second mage, grab a Mox, play it, and pod the tapped mage into a Breya to give us some blockers against a random 2020. Breya is so fucking good. We then play a Mere Enforcer for free, planning to Crater Hoof to kill them next turn, and they scoop it up anyway. I think they shouldn't scoop so early. They probably should play it out to see if I have to make another play that tells me about a card in my deck. I think scooping was wrong here. But on the other hand, tell me this board state doesn't make you feel all fucking warm inside. My hand is combo-tastic but interaction light. Thoughtseize takes a pod like some evil thief of dreams. Wait a minute. That metaphor there makes the original art so much more poignant. Kind of makes sense. The dreams of what you might do later in the game are disrupted by this 1-mana play. Wow, that's really flavorful. Magic is really fucking cool. They turn to a stage, we turn to a 2/2 frog. Yeah, good clean magic. They play a Delta and we draw a Tez. Tez can dig for a pod, so we cast him. He can also put our life total above 20 with his ultimate, allowing us to take a Merit Lage to the face and live to tell the tale. Tez finds pod in his uptick because he's a fucking top lad and he's all aboard this banter train. We get into the red zone for 2, they play a second Depths. Now they can Merit Lage us off of a crop rotation, transforming a land into a dark Depths. We need some way of blocking this turn, or we could just be dead. Looks like this freshly drawn thought to making Cyborg Badman will come in handy after all. draw. We tick up Agent to find a Mox, play it, and we cast Big Tez. We make a Thopter and swing with Frog, which might have been a bit foolish considering we had a read on them. They crop rotate into depths, make a big old scary motherfucker.
That's a huge bitch!
And the Frog gets fucking wrecked, not even close. They attack, we chump, and we are just happy they didn't have Abrupt Decay or Rite of Consumption, as those are their clear outs that they probably are playing somewhere in their list. They then Ghost Core or Ancient Tomb, which really puts us back. Fuck. We tick up Little Tears and find a Mox Opal, we play an Artifact Land for the turn that we drew, and we float mana and play a Mox. We float mana again, play a Treasure Mage, get a Mox and play it, and then we finally cast the Mirror Enforcer. There is a window for them to kill us here, otherwise we pod into Breya and just kill them with Agent of Bolus next turn. With his ult, they scoop. We got there. We have a slow and clunky hand that I should not have kept, looking at it with hindsight and a clear head. Man, Magic is hard, especially when you fucking suck sometimes. Goblin Guide from them, giving us a land and tell us they're on burn. No other deck in the format plays guide, not even goblins. Land and Opal pass back, we get bolted again and slapped by a guide. We play a turn 3 Jace, and Jace Storm finding 2 lands and a Force. Force will be very good if we can survive and untap after casting Thrag Daddy to counter their last spell. We just need to apply pressure to them so that we can win before their inevitability kills us. Also, Jace is awkwardly telling us we're land swamp. We're drawing 2 lands in a row. With no Trinket Mage or Pod to help us shuffle this shit away, it feels a bit bad. They bolt Jace and attack. We play Thrag and go to 13. God bless this mighty WALUE beast. Only second to Palaka Worm in terms of actual sheer value. On the other end of the 2 Ancient Tombs that I put back with Jace, we eventually draw into one huge unit. Doomwake Chungus. I decided to put my shield down and cast him. This allows us to attack and start to close out the game. Otherwise, burn will kill us. Like I said, there is inevitability. They will draw as many redundant 4 damage and 3 damage spells and eventually kill us. They chump the Thrag with Gobbo and Flame Rift us. And by us, I mean both of us. It damages both players. We again draw land and attack with 1 body, keeping back a blocker in case of Swift Spear or Goblin Guide, as we are at 5 life after all. They Flame Rift us to 1 and then sacrifice all the mountains, all 2 of them, to cast Fire Blast. But we say no with our own free spell, but like the kind, fair, magic playing gentlemen that we are, we pay the full 5 mana. They realise that they are dead to our thick, swole beasts and this one chunky giant, and concede. In game 2 we get Lava Spike to turn 1, which I always believe to be a sign of a bad burn hand. Your opponent wants to ideally have ongoing recurring damage like Guide or Swift Spear. This makes me feel much more comfortable. We also have Thragtusk in hand, as well as 2 other ways to gain life, Tez and Inventor's Fair. Inventor's Fair must be a weird fair. I imagine the Candy Floss tastes a little bit like a CES booth that has lots of VR pornography for you to look at. It's indulgent, it's a little bit sordid, and I don't think you want to share it with any friends or family. On that topic, did you know that a sex toy for women, a robotic dildo, had been withdrawn and not allowed to be shown, it says 2019, because it was deemed immoral? The funny thing about this is that VR pornography and sex robots that are perfectly okay there, mainly from the male perspective, but their argument was that the robo dildo doesn't fit within their categories. Maybe they just need to stick legs on the dildo, or maybe a hand. Imagine a dildo with a robotic hand on the end of it. Now that's what I call pod racing. Also, is it pronounced CES, says, or Kez, or Kess? I don't fucking know. Tell me in the comments below. Turn 2 Flame Rift, we turn to a Frogmite. We get Price of Progress down to 9. I think we realistically could just lose this game to a combination of Price, plus a Bolt or a Fire Blast from them. We go back to 10 life thanks to Inventor's Fair, where the toffee apples smell like a brass moustache.
Like the brass moustache, hidden behind a notice board.
Why didn't you polish it?
Sir.
How funny is it?
Not so.
Bury the beds.
We play a Tears and tick up looking for a mana source to cast Thragtusk next turn. We are dead to a lot of things here. This is 5p territory. Dramatic music. No, Vince, you're meant to put dramatic music in there in post. For fuck's sake, Vince. We don't find a mana source because we are all forsaken. God does not want us, for we are not his children. We take the Chalice because YOLO. They fire off nothing. I think we might be about to get double spelled up the shitter as soon as we cast something. Tez finds a metal tree, and we cast Thragtusk, placing it on the stack. Hold. It only goes and fucking resolve, sunshine. They appear to be flooding out hard. We play a Canonist, play a Chalice of the Void on 1 next turn, and ultimate Tez for an Xaxes kill. That's number wang. I hope you enjoyed this majestic, galloping pile of memes and circuit boards. Some of our opponents got unlucky, but we also had games where I kept really weak hands because I'm bad at Magic. This deck definitely has legs, with its tunable pod targets being the place that we can probably refine it to attack the metagame from different angles the most. I think it's proactive. I think it plays enough disruption to just fuck decks out of nowhere. Sometimes a chance on 1 just means that you lose. I just don't know how good the Antiquities War really is, because it hid from me all fucking league, because it's a coward. Actually, I also sided it out against every fast deck, because it's a card for beating mid-range and control decks, providing inevitability. If you have any suggestions about the deck list, leave them in the comment section below. This is an archetype I plan to return to without a shadow of a doubt. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe because it helps the channel a lot. If you don't have anything constructive to add, simply post your favourite hashtag like WALUE or Brass Moustache. I've been Vince, also known as PleasantKenobi on the internet, and I'll leave you with these wise words from the fictionalised Tom Hardy depiction of Charles Bronson.
Shut your fucking mouth! No problem, Charles. Shut the fuck up, you cunt!